It's September 1944. The front pages in Illinois were full of the news from the ongoing war, with information being published every day in great detail, chronicling the ongoing war overseas. With so much bloodshed being covered, it's very easy to miss one particular strange event, one that would come to be called the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Mattoon, Illinois is a small town that lies around 49 miles south of Champaign and has a population of around 18,000 people. The self-proclaimed bagel capital of America, Mattoon was also the site of a suspected case of mass hysteria. In September 1944, people started to report that they would wake up in the middle of the night and smell a sweet aroma drifting through their open windows. They would become overwhelmed with nausea. Some even reported paralysis. Some of the victims recalled seeing someone fleeing their yards, which led to rumours that someone was pumping noxious gas into their homes in the dead of night. Initially, it was thought that one of the incidents was a suspected robbery, as the victims had a large sum of money in the house, and that the robber had seen them counted at the table earlier in the day. In the days that followed, there was a number of attacks, although no one could give a clear description of the prowler, and no clues could be found at the scene of the attacks. That was until the night of September the 5th. Carl and Beulah Cords of North 21st Street returned home around 10 p.m. After they had been in the house for a couple of minutes, Beulah noticed a white cloth on the front porch and went to investigate. Naturally, she picked it up and smelled the cloth. She smelled a sweet smell and instantly began to vomit. She described the feeling as being similar to an electric shock. Her face began to swell and her lips and throat began to burn, and she also described feeling weak and temporary paralysis just like the other victims. She later claimed that the cloth was probably meant to knock out her dog, which normally slept there, so the attacker could gain access to the property. Along with the cloth, a well-used skeleton key was also found with an empty lipstick tube on the sidewalk adjacent to the porch. The cloth was collected and sent for analysis, but no chemical could be found on the cloth which could have caused Beulah Cords to have that kind of reaction. On the same night as the cloth incident, a woman named Leonard Burrell reported an intruder had climbed through her window and had tried to gas her. Of course, the public had started to become very worried about these attacks. This is when the FBI became involved. They ordered that residents should avoid lingering in residential areas, that groups set up to patrol the streets for the gasser should be disbanded, and that the public should take due restraint when discharging firearms. After a week of false alarms, mostly from citizens believing they smelled gas or had seen a prowler, the FBI reduced the priority afforded to the gasser reports. They also announced that they believed that all of these incidents had a probable explanation, and that it was just a case of public anxiety, and that the women were nervous while their men were away at war. After this report, the gasser cases declined. The only incident of note came when a lady named Bertha Birch claimed that she had seen the gasser, and that it was a woman dressed as a man. After this incident, the case of the Mattoon gasser ended, and there was no more incidents. But still, people wanted answers, and there were three possible theories. 1, that it was mass hysteria. 2, that it was an industrial pollution. Or 3, that there was actually a Mad Gasser of Mattoon. The local commissioner for public health, Thomas Wright, released a report 2 weeks after the first attack, saying that he believes that there was a gasser, but that most of the so-called attacks were nothing but hysteria. Having heard of the attacks, and with a strange smell in the air, had all jumped on the gasser bandwagon. On September 12th, the chief of police went a step further. He announced that there had likely been no gasser, and that the smell had likely been carried by the wind from the local industrial facilities, and that the reports had been exaggerated by the local public. He also added that most of the physical symptoms recorded, including choking, swelling, and the temporary paralysis, have all been product of hysteria. As for the man that the victims saw fleeing the scene, it was believed to have been a bystander who had come to see what was happening during all of the chaos that had erupted inside. Today, it is widely believed that the Mad Gasser of Mattoon is nothing more than a case of mass hysteria. Just like the other events of the past, for example the dancing plague in which the victims couldn't help but dance through the town. The most notorious incident of the dancing plague came in 1518 in France. Within a week of the first reported incidents, a crowd of 30 people started dancing in the streets against their will. Their numbers quickly ballooned to 400, and the leaders of the town brought musicians to play music for them. By the time it was over, several of the dancers were dead, due to the continuous dancing. So what do you think? Do you believe that there was a Mad Gasser? Or do you believe that it was just a case of mass hysteria and public anxiety? And if you'd like to hear more videos like this, or see more videos like this should I say, please think about subscribing to this channel. Thank you very much.